One of the reasons I never got into racing wheels is simply because they take up a ton of space. Not only do they take up a lot of space on a table or in the game room, they take up a ton of space in storage. Now, I've decided that I have everything else, so it's time to go that route finally after all these years. Now, because of that, I've had some problems. I've had to find some interesting new solutions. Join me as I show you the solution I found to taking up way too much space in the game room during game nights and in storage. So if you see me on social media, you know that I had a game night recently, and these racing wheels are awesome. And Burnout 2 is a lot of fun with racing wheels, but the issue is, depending on how people were playing, they were falling right off these tables here, and that wasn't working. I tried two different tables, and no matter what I did, it didn't seem to hold on very well. And I'm not sure exactly what these were designed for, and I think this is why a lot of people don't use racing wheels, or if they do, they have to buy specialized setups or make specialized tables just because they don't really agree with anything, at least that I have in the house here. Anyways, I decided to hit Reddit because every video game solution is hidden somewhere on Reddit, and I found a post about like racing wheel table alternatives, and that led back to a post on a Forza forum from Reddit, which talked about using a sawhorse. The user had deleted their name like 8 years ago or something like that. It's a very old post, but the point is, they said to go and find some sawhorses from Lowe's. Let me show you what those are. Now, that person recommended I use something called this, I guess it's the Burrow brand sawhorse, which you can see they're kind of big. They showed in the picture them set up with a racing wheel right here, and their legs fit comfortably here, and so do the pedals. It wasn't anything fancy or crazy, and there's really like a no frill solution, but it seemed to work for them. And that's why I decided to go out and get a few of these. Now, I have already tested this, so I can tell you right now that these racing wheels have no problem going over there with a few cranks down, will sit there securely with pretty much no problem. I tried to pull it off before and it really wasn't happening. So this is just, I didn't even tighten it hard. On this table over here, I was tightening it as hard as I could. My hands hurt. This is solid. Now there's a few issues with these. The first thing is the legs are not even. Like, these are cheaply made. They cost an arm and a leg. They're $40 a piece, where it boils down to $6 of lumber. So they're poorly made in the first place. The surface needs to be as flat, but the legs are all kinds of wonky and uneven. On top of that, the type of wood they use, I'm not sure the size of this, it's very thin, and it's at an angle, so I really can't drill adjustable feet into it. So I'm going to try to bring a different solution for that, mainly with these like felt pads. Either way, the other issue is they're very rough. They're meant to be used on a job site. So my thought process is to sand them down with some 220 grit sandpaper, and then I will use some stain to hopefully make it look a little bit nicer down here and sort of match the dark wood aesthetic we have going on in the basement. After that, I will finally try to level the feet out, and hopefully, I can get some kind of compliance. This one's not bad, but I bought two of these. The other one's terrible. So let's head outside, taking our sawhorse with us, sand it down with some 220 grit sandpaper, then hit it with some stain, and then let it set up for a little bit, and come back when it's all said and done, try to level that leg out, and kind of test out how it works exactly. All right, so I picked up some 220 grit sandpaper. I'm sure there's a better way to do this. I'm sure there's woodworkers out there who are going to cringe and be angry at me. I'm not too concerned about that. I'm just going to hit the entire thing, every aspect I can of it, every angle, every side of it with the 220 grit sandpaper. And once I'm done with that, I'll just clean it up, wipe it down a little bit, and get it ready for stain. But the issue with these things is that they are very, very rough, and they're not meant to be used by people in a basement for a game night. They're meant to be used on a job site. They're probably meant to be a cheap, easy solution that's really sturdy and stable, and that is not what they're going to be used for. So I want to be able to pick these up and move them around without having my hands completely impaled all the time and without getting splinters like crazy. So I'm just going to do this, and hopefully it gets it nice and smooth, which if you watch through this whole thing, you will see it does get it really nice and smooth. I could have done a better job, and when I do the second one, I will do an even better job of sanding. But in general, this came out really, really well. It's nice and easy to move. I don't have to worry about that plywood giving me something to remember it by. So once it's all sanded and cleaned up, I will then proceed to go ahead and stain it, which will be fun, fun, fun. I really hate staining. I hate painting. We did so much of it. Every time we do it, we say, we're not staining, we're not painting, we're done with all that. Then we get ourselves another project. So anyways, finish the sanding, and we'll get right into the staining, and then we'll let it dry and test it out. First off, I picked up this stain. I think this is just black. I used to have one called ebony. Hopefully you can see what I used here. That's the stain I'm using for this, and so that's what I'm going to use. And I should have put gloves on before I started this. I didn't, so now my hands are going to be very, very hard to clean. I have a solution for that, and I wouldn't recommend it, nor will I tell you what it is, because it's probably a little dangerous, but did end up getting my hands cleaned after a while. It wasn't the smartest idea. When I do the next one, I will definitely put some gloves on, that's for sure. But I was sitting there rubbing the stain in with an old piece of a shirt, which I probably should have used a brush for, but whatever. I'm not aiming for perfection. I'm just aiming to get it done, because these are going to be used once in a while and sit in the basement for a while and But that's all that matters. So here's the staining process. I'm going to knock it out real quick. I'm going to leave it out in the sun for hours to dry because it is a hot day, and we'll come back to it. And the next time you see it, it'll be down in the game room, hopefully, and we'll test out how that finish held up, what it looks like, and how it plays. Okay, so here's the result of me sanding it with 220 grit sandpaper and staining it down the best I could. I used some kind of combination stain slash polyacrylic or polyurethane. Gave a little bit of a shine. It's not like the best protected, and frankly, the sanding job leaves a little bit to be desired. But in general, this is a lot better. There's no splinters hanging out. It looks a little bit nicer, although the stain is a little bit heavy in some parts. But I like it. I'm happy with it. This is all it needs to be. I'm not aiming for anything fancy. How often I'm going to use these wheels, I don't know. So spending hours upon hours trying to make them perfect is, I should have built them at that point. So got about a half hour invested in sanding. I got about a half hour invested in staining. And then I let it set up for about 5 or 6 hours outside in like the direct sun. It's been very warm. And yeah, it looks good. No weird smell about it. Only issue is maybe the feet are still not even. I don't know. It feels good. Maybe not to level the feet. There might have been like a little nub. This actually feels good. Okay. Well, there's that. Let me show you the solution I got. This does not need to be leveled at all, but let me show you a couple things I picked up. Now, before we test it out, if it does actually get a little bit out of whack and it needs to go up a little bit, I bought these felt adhesive pads, okay? I would cut these to the size of the foot itself underneath to try to raise it up if I needed to. But honestly, this is fine for what it is. Would have been my solution. I also picked up something else. I don't know what these are called. These little screw-on bumpers I bought. They have a fair amount of space in them that I could have screwed on the bottom. But in general, and let me show you real quick here, there's not a lot of place for anything to bite into the bottom of these feet. Like, they're very thin. They're about an inch, I think, maybe. But I'm happy with this. Let's go ahead and throw a racing wheel on there. And then I'll just go ahead and give it a shot real quick. And now, if this gets beat up, if this gets hurt, if there's any issues with this, I'm not out a whole lot of money. Is it going to be a little harder to store than something that folds up? Sure, absolutely. But at the same time, I didn't want to spend a whole lot of money on something that I probably won't use all that often. But if I have an easy solution, I'll probably use more often than I would think otherwise. So we're going to be safe. We'll turn the PS2 off, and then we'll connect power. We'll connect the pedals to the bottom part of this racing wheel. And this wood part actually gives it plenty of clearance. We'll plug it into the top USB, and by the way, if you're using racing wheels, unless it's two-player, if there's only one wheel, it needs to go to the top. We'll reset it, and hopefully when Burnout loads up, it'll figure itself out. So we're just going to do like a quick proof of concept here to show you how this works. I'm, 5'10", 5'11" on a good day. This thing is off. If I keep it straight, it's like fine. But it is off a little bit, so I will end up putting some felt feet on it, I think. But in general, it's better than it was before. So a quick single race, nothing too crazy. The fact that it tells me that center is not good. We used these one night and that was it, huh? It's a little off, but that feels better. This is why it's so annoying to try to buy stuff that's used or old, because you never know how it's going to work. But this is so far so good. This is a much, like, just want to show that you can do whatever you want, but it ain't coming out, which was the big issue we had. It was people were trying to drive, and I understand why, because you want to overcorrect, and then you start doing crazy stuff. But in general, if you're just kind of like driving normally, this is absolutely fine. Those felt pads would probably do a good job of adjusting it. Maybe there's another way to do it, I'm not sure. But no, this actually feels really good. I can't believe this was the easiest solution we could come up with, and hopefully the most middle-of-the-road storage-friendly solution. Now, I will say this about these Sawhorse. The Sawhorse works great, but it's going to be a little larger to store than those other things you can find on Amazon that are meant for racing wheels specifically. They're fine and all, but they were charging probably, I think it was like $80 or $90 for one decent one. For $80, I got two of these, and I think I spent, around another $10, $15 in stain and sanding. So it's a little bit more time and effort, but two of those would have cost me substantially more than two of these, and that's why I went with this route. It's also, and hopefully you can see the difference as you come over here and look. This setup here, sure, it's about as wide if I had two of these next to each other as the table, but it's substantially less bulky. There's no anything in front of us here, so I can move this a lot closer to the TV. With those tables, I had to make sure that it was on the edge of the table, so we were further away from the TV, and we lost a lot of space during game night. And that was bad because there were probably about 20 people down here, which that's pushing it for a house this size. I know everyone thinks live in a mansion, but that was, trust me, pushing it. So, anyways, this is what I did. This is apparently available at Lowe's. I'm not being paid to say that. I'm sure they're available elsewhere. Some of you who are good at woodwork could probably make these on your own very, very quickly. But they are the Burrow, what are they called? Genuine Burrow brand Sawhorses. And if you're going to go this route, I strongly recommend you sand it down. Otherwise, you'll get splinters like crazy. And if you want to stain it, cool. If you want to paint it, cool. Whatever makes you happy. Put stickers on it, but that works really well for racing wheels, especially if you're a casual. I'm not recommending this for people who want the full, authentic race car experience. Those guys aren't watching this video. They're out there doing their own thing, building fully immersive setups. This is for when I want to take it out for a game night and let people have fun playing some arcade style racing games, and that works well just for that. We will probably get more use this weekend out of it, but in general, I'm really happy I found these. And remember, if you have a video game problem or you're looking for a smart idea or something clever that might help you, dig through Reddit. It's going to take a while. Dig through Reddit the best you can. Use as many good keywords as you can, because chances are, if you're going through something trying to find a solution to a problem that's related to gaming, it's on Reddit. It might be 10, 12 years old, but it's probably there. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this. Hope this helps someone out there, and we'll see you in the next one.